Welcome, Jesse Wikiriwhi.
Thank you.
You were a dancer in Footnote from 2007 to 2009, and then you made a guest appearance in 2010. You were in 20 different works over that
Really,
time,
that is wild.
and you choreographed one
Yeah.
as well. Thinking back to your time in the company and all the 20 works that you performed, what was a memorable performance experience or work?
I remember my first season, it was like five short works. And I remember being in all five works, and we had like, what, a minute in between to get ready for the next one?
Not even that. It
Not
was
even
just
that.
as long as it takes to get changed. That's
Yeah, that's the first introduction to the company. Welcome. Here's
the
all five
fitness.
works.
The fitness was on, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
stamina.
One that I particularly remember is Michael Parmiter's work, Bhakti. The visceral reaction that you will have amongst the others at this.
Yes.
It's a work that's all based on patterns and timing. And it was like, I think, a 5 minute work that you had to count the entire time. Otherwise, you got lost. And if you got lost, that was the end of the work. It fell apart. It was sort of this circular work that weaved, and all five dancers, there was one in the middle walking around in a circle, that the movement sort of built up and built up and built up and then came down. And I remember when we first learnt that, and Michael Parmenter had put me in the walking role. And so the walking role is that you had two steps to walk in between each dancer. Then each dancer would take off just before you, and you had to walk at a certain pace so that you didn't hit anyone else. I remember, aside from dancing all the time and sort of teaching and doing all that work, um, we would go back to we stayed in motels. So that was what we did. And I think I stayed in almost every city and town in this country, thanks to Footnote. And I remember we'd go home from teaching and we'd go and watch Home and Away.
Yes.
You, me, and Jeremy Ploy for those that don't know. And that was on tour.
We did. Remember playing hide and seek and
Hide
in
and seek. And
we
you
were
always let,
so bored in Invercargill. We're like, let's play hide and seek.
or like in Winton.
Yes.
I remember having like, the rule was, I'm just going way off topic and I'm so sorry, but the rule was you couldn't leave the motel. And I think it was Jerry, or was it you, that was out the window with the
Jerry.
curtains shut, but just 1 foot just sitting inside.
He was hanging out the window and then it started raining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rubble.
I think for me, what really changed my perspective and approach to dance was Emptyland. Claire O'Neill is such an incredible dancer and creator, academic now, obviously getting their
Mm.
PhD.
Mm.
And her process, it was all because her big thing is sort of like improv. Like I remember seeing works of hers, and she was massive on the improvisation, and that for me was not my strongest suit. Like we sort of started in one place with that work, and she gave us a framework of how it was going to be. And I remember she was like, "You'll be the narrator." And I was like, oh God, speaking in front of people, like in dance, like terrifying. And then I just remember being held so well by her process
Mm.
and fully trusting her with how she was creating this work, that by the time we got to the end, it it just happened. We were so supported and the work was
Yeah.
strong before it. And I remember that process very clearly.
My recollection of Emptyland is doing constant, like long improvisations.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember how the work got formed. It
Yeah.
just formed itself through these like multiple improvisations.
I had the exact same memory like that. It just sort of, you got to the end and then there was the work.
And I think it was only a 4 week process. Maybe Deirdre will correct me on this, but I feel like it was only 4 weeks with Claire in studio with a newborn.
Then we went to Brussels.
Well, we did it in Wellington and then it got a rework because it got programmed in the
uh,
2010
at the
International
festival.
Arts Festival.
That's
So we got sent to Brussels, woo, to do a rework.
that's right. I just remember like certain aspects of that work, the arm swing, doing like this sort of full arm swings, and you did it for so long with your arms, like they were going to fall off. We had like no wings in the theatre, so everything was opened up. We just created this whole world, and our attention, all six of us, were just on the world that we created. It was quite a special piece to perform.
What was it like for you to choreograph on the company? Because Deirdre gave you that opportunity while you were still a company dancer, right?
Yeah, so I created a work called Little Sister, which is about my mum's experience growing up and being put into a Catholic boarding school. Yeah, it was really eye-opening because obviously I hadn't done too much choreography by that point, and I wanted to explore that a bit more. Where I trained at Unitec had a big focus on choreography, and so I'd learned some of the basic skills, but I really wanted the opportunity to work with incredible dancers that we happened to be with at the time. And so I thought, give it a go. Why not? I'm here to grow and to learn. And it was amazing. Like I learned a lot about what it takes to actually create a 10-minute work. It takes time, and we didn't have enough of that really at Footnote. We only had a week usually with the choreographer, and that was the work. So really trying to push out a lot of ideas that have a lot of depth, challenging, but you learn to work quick. And I mean, you were all amazing in the work, and it was great to explore that and sort of share my mother's story. And many other people will have a similar background in this country that can relate to that experience as well. Yeah, I loved it.
Towards the end of, I think it might have been your last year with the company, 2009, there was a solo series, and each choreographer was given a chosen New Zealander to make a work on, and Malia made a work on you that looked at the artist Len Lai.
Yeah, I worked with Malia Johnson on this work called Len's Eye, and it was sort of celebrating Len Lai's early work. So he, back in his early days before he created all this sort of sculptural pieces, he would sort of colour over old film rushes. So it was focused on that sort of earlier process. And we made ours at the Museum Hotel. We were sort of all over the city. And that was intense, like working one-on-one with the choreographer to make that short work. Like that's, for anyone that's done that, it's quite an intense period because it's just you working with someone who I have a lot of admiration for, like Malia, legend, icon. Yeah, it's intense, but it's so great to be able to have that time. I don't know how many dancers get that kind of sort of focused time with that one individual person. But the work's crazy. Like we had this sort of paper wall, and the audience sat on one side and I was behind it, and we had that old school like a OHP projector, and I would sort of make patterns on the projector that would then cast up onto the sort of paper wall. And Ed Mulholland did the music, which was this incredible soundscape.
What did you take from your time at Footnote with you into your professional working life after?
Yeah. One of the biggest lessons I learned was how to collaborate with just so many different people. But obviously, that number is crazy. 20 works in 3 years? I just think that's on any level for any dancer, learning 20 works in 3 years is wild. So I can't believe that number. That's actually quite crazy. You learn how to collaborate with just so many different people, and every single choreographer will have a different approach, whether it be they give you the movement or they do like a more directorial role where they allow you to create the landscape, and then they just sort of manipulate here and there. And then other people, you see it from the really strict to the really relaxed. And so I think that's the greatest skill I took away. Working in a really intense environment, working full-time, a privilege in this country. As we know, there aren't that many companies that can do that. And it gives you, the ability to travel the world. We were very lucky to get to travel the world. I wouldn't have had the skills if it hadn't been for Footnote to be able to do that, because I had the experience to go, okay, I know what I need to do. I know how to look after my body, what that for, the demands of that, performing in a different country where English may be the second or third language. And you can only learn that by doing it. Footnote gave me that.
And now that you've had time away from the company, quite a significant amount of time, what are your observations of the company now? I know that you work at Q, and we have come to Q quite a few times now. What are your observations of the company now, and also, I guess, how have you seen it change and grow?
I remember Deirdre thought that we were causing a mutiny back in our day because we wanted to do more dancing, less teaching. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I remember that was like quite a tense moment because we were like, we want to, dance more. I think we were doing Interland at that point. We were doing these sort of big works, and we were like, and we were all quite experienced dancers. We were getting older, and we were like, this is what we want to do. And what I've seen with the company is that that is finally happening for the company now. It's more focused on producing work by local and international talent, which I think is incredible and fantastic and needed. That's
Mm.
what we wanted back when I was with the company all those long time ago. And it's so nice to see, that is happening for the company, that there is a focus on performing works. I mean, you did the tour to Tokyo last year, Japan, Tokyo.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's great to see that that the company has become that,
Mm.
which is really nice because that's kind of what we wanted. So I'm happy that it's there. That's the best thing that I love about this company. That it's still going after 40 years. I think that's incredible in and of itself. We know it's a challenging time for arts organisations in this country. So I'm glad that you're still around, and I'm glad that you are running the company now, and that's amazing because you're an incredible talent and a beautiful person.
Oh,
And yeah, just the fact that you're just solely focused on creating works, supporting artists in the country, and bringing in international talent, I think is fantastic and
mm.
needed.